This is our January 18th, 2023 regular board meeting for the Duluth Community Service District. Our president isn't able to be here tonight, so I'll be hosting the meeting tonight and in her place. So we're going to call the meeting to order. And first item is our roll call. Director Carroll.
Here.
Director Del Henry. Send you here. Rosen.
Here.
Roberts is absent tonight and Bowman is here. Let's do the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Next item on our agenda is we need to authorize the on-site and virtual board meetings through passing resolution bill 23- or resolution number 23-01, which authorizes this and along the lines of AB 361. So is there a motion and second for that?
I'll make a motion.
Second. Thank you. In favor or not, Director Carroll?
Aye.
Sandra? Aye. Rosen?
Aye.
And Bowman votes aye, and so that passes unanimously. Thank you. We're not going to have a sheriff's report tonight. Deputy Sam Perez was injured a little over a week ago while pursuing the avocado thief, I think is what the offense was. But he was involved in an accident as a part of that. And he's still out on medical leave. He has some more tests to be done, but we're hopeful that he's going to be okay. We'll catch up with that report next month when he's here. The next item will be call for public comments from either people in attendance or on Zoom. We don't have anyone here or on Zoom, so thank you. Next in line is legislative topics presented by Cyrus Beavers. Mr. Beavers, are you on there? I see you.
I'm here. Can you hear me okay?
Okay, there we go. Yes, we can.
Very good. Let me jump on it. This will still be a fairly short report because we're still early in the year. So where we're at, the legislature reconvened on the 4th. Since we last spoke, we, of course, the legislature, Sacramento kind of shuts down for 2 weeks during the holidays at the end of December, but they came back on the 4th, but things jump off to a slow start as this is the beginning of the 2-year session. So what that means is none of the bills from last year that were still in process, none of them carry over. They're all dead. So we start fresh. The bill introduction deadline is February 17th, and the legislature is famous for its propensity to procrastinate. So we're maybe a third of the way into the bill introduction process. And in fact, I'd say about 50% of the bills will be introduced in the 10 days before February 17th. So should you invite me back next month, I believe on the 15th, I should have by then, we'll probably have 80% of the bills in that are going to be introduced. So there may be more to talk about then if you'd like to have me back. Again, for you guys, I'm watching out for things like any bills affecting administration of special districts, Public Records Act requests, anything affecting transportation funding. So kind of like keeping our eyes out for anything that might, jog your life. So far, nothing yet. I should say though that you just have to introduce a bill by the 17th. You don't have to have your substance in a bill by the 17th. You just have to have something in to have a placeholder and get a number assigned. In fact, most of the controversial bills, we really don't see the substance until later. Once a bill is introduced, there's a 30-day blackout period where the bill cannot be heard or amended. This harkens back to the 19th century when bills were read out loud from a public forum. So it's a month for everyone to kind of check out the bills that are introduced. So really, the real work doesn't really kick in until about the first week of March, middle of March. So that's upcoming. I'm going to start reviewing a whole bunch of bills here pretty quick. They're trickling in about 60 or 70 a day right now.
Okay.
Moving on, my activity, I still don't want to really talk a lot about what we're doing regarding the organic waste diversion program. So I've been, let's just say I've been active. I've had an extensive communication with the committee consultant. I've been keeping Senator Kelly Cerritos, Sacramento staff informed as to what we're doing, and just reminding them that we may be visiting them later. So, but if anybody would like kind of more detailed information, just pick up a phone or shoot me an email or something. But here in the kind of it's just a bit early yet to talk in a public forum about what we're up to. Certainly by next month, cat will be out of the bag as or whatever's going to happen is will have been kind of set in place by then.
We'll look forward to the reports coming up then in the next month or so. Thank you.
All right. Last thing, I'll just cover this briefly. The big news is the budget. So you've all heard 22, Newsom estimates the budget deficit of 22.5 billion. I think there's a lot of wailing and gnashing of teeth about, oh my gosh, we're in a deficit. I think there's been some perspective lost. A $22.5 billion retraction in revenues is still is a wildly large budget, in California. So, for example, the biggest cuts happen in transportation. So the climate change, electrification of vehicles program. Okay, so that went from a $54 billion program to a $48 billion program. Okay, it's still a $48 billion program. So, if Newsom had come out and said, hey, I'm going to do a $48 billion program and never said the number 54, everyone would have been thrilled. But so I just feel maybe there's a little perspective lost on just where we're really at. We're really not in that bad a shape. We're actually not projecting a recession. And in fact, the governor's budget does not propose to tap the rainy day fund, which is appropriate because we're not in that bad a shape. So the rainy day fund, we'll see if this continues into next year. Maybe that'd be a different conversation. But remember, this is just the governor's proposal. Now the legislature takes over. So and that can be a whole nother process.
Right.
So I think with those three items, I'll pause there. If you have any questions for me, happy to answer.
Thank you. Okay, moving on. The next topic is the information only items, which include financial statements and the statement of investment policy. These are included for review by the directors. Are there any comments or questions? Okay. Then following that is a consent calendar, which is made up by the minutes from the December 21st meeting, the general fund claims for December, the sheriff's special tax claims for December, and there aren't any purchase orders to deal with this month. Is there a motion to approve the consent calendar? So, and a second.
I'll second.
Director Carroll.
Yes, I.
Aye. Justin, aye.
Ross and I.
Ross, aye. Robert's left again, of course, is gone, and Bowman's is back. So we're through that. Okay. And that brings us to one of our favorite topics. And once again, review the status of the Buena Vista reconstruction. All right, started on a day much like this.
A great topic, yes. Thank you for getting me going here. So I think Jessica's pulling up the report right now. Well, I don't think I'm bringing any news here, but I think everyone's looking outside the last month. It's been pretty much nothing but rain, and not just rain, but pretty high intense rain. So I unfortunately am here to say that since our last meeting, there really hasn't been much progress, just maintaining the site for the most part. you can see over here, the rain forecast. I know in the committee meeting, I gave the forecast of the weather. It all came true. It was the 10th, the 14th, to the 17th was basically all rain. And then we also have rain forecasted for the 19th. But the hard part, the difficult part about it is if it rains one day, it takes 2 to 3 days to dry the site out. And it's been a vicious cycle of raining 2 or 3 days and then 3 days of break. And so right now they've been maintaining, the contractor has been out there, they go onto the site daily and check everything up and maintain all their BMPs. But as of right now, they're still kind of in the beginning stage. They have the channel dredged out, but they're having trouble. It keeps washing out, and so they're going back and forth, they're dealing with it, but the inspector's been out there making sure they're maintaining all their BMP, nothing is being washed downstream that shouldn't be washed downstream, and I'll show you some pictures here in the future, but the good news is, after the 19th, the 15-day forecast, I don't see any rain forecasted. So I think that that's gonna be a good enough window for them to pretty much get this job done, if that's at least to get the head walls and the infrastructure that's needed in, so that there's a fully functional channel. So they are working, all the dirt's on site, they have everything out there. It's just been a tough time right now, and it's just been an unfortunate series of rain events that've been holding them back. And but they are, you know, they're doing what they need to do to keep the job site. They're not saying throwing their hands up and throwing the towel and everything. So we are showing progress, but we wish the rain would cooperate a little more. So but with that said, I'll go and show kind of the progress that has been done. So as you can see, they have been grading out the channel. And here you can see in the picture that they've had a lot of large boulders out there that they've been uncovering, which is another level of difficulty, which they have been dealing with it. And they were able to excavate a lot of those old boulders out of the way and get everything to finished grade of the channel bottom. So they have been working on that. If you can see the next picture, there they've just been stockpiling. You can see that there's a heavy amount of those large boulders, and for the specs, they have to get those out so they can properly fill the site and make sure that it's a adequate site for the compaction and everything. So then you can go to the next picture. And here you can see they cleared it out. And this is them. They have been, you know, they've had that channel bottom excavated for a couple times now. They've redug it a few times now, just keeping it maintained. But they have been working out there. And if you've seen, I don't know if anyone's been able to look at it, but they have everything kind of graded out. All the clearing and grubbing has been done. It's just now they need to start placing the actual pipes and bedding material once they get the weather to cooperate a little bit. But you can go to the next slide. So here is, you can see kind of how nasty the material gets out there. It just turns into nasty clay. I mean, if you walk out there, you grow a couple inches because it sticks to your boots all over. I'm sure you guys are fully aware of that living out here. But right now, this is actually a bit of a unique washout. They had a bit of an issue out there. There was a water line down the road that it must have burst basically, and it was washing out directly onto the site. So right now we're dealing with Rancho Water on ways to remedy that, but they have been tracking their invoices separately on that, just in case when the time comes, they're gonna. Right now we are working with Rancho Water to replace that water line that's in the portion. So they'll, if it comes to the point where it's a change order, we have all that time tracked, and they can reach out to the Rancho Water, which they are pursuing right now, and we've copied them on that. Just for extra damage, just like we track a time and material, basically they had this many excavators out there to fix the road. So we have had that, and we have been in contact with them. And good thing is Rancho Water is very cooperative usually, and they're great to work with. So we're going through with that, and we're also getting more put into the site, but just wanted to make everyone aware of that in case anyone hears any months around. So, but that's what happened there. And if you go to the next slide, you can see if they were able to clean that up, and you got everything back to grade, and you can still see that there's still drainage courses going around, but you can see it is dry. That's because their water diversion is working, but it's not designed for these heavy rains. And if you go to the next slide, you see this is what they're doing to protect the slopes as best they can. You know, they put these tarps up, they put up as much of the material, and even that stockpile that'll be tarped up when they leave. But you can see they have the fiber rolls. That's just there to make sure nothing washes down. But they're doing the best they can to keep everything through all the slopes. But right now it's just it's hard to work in a channel and we get the kind of rain we can get. So so I think the next slide here, that's just another picture of those fiber rolls that keep everything from washing out of the stream. But the good news is, you know, they're maintaining their BMPs and everything's going well. So it's, you know, they're doing the best they can right now. So if you go to the next slide, here is, you know, you can see that it's just degrading more and more. And that's what it looks like as it's drying out. So it's getting there to a drying point, but it's still ends up washing everything out as much as possible. So we're trying, they're trying out there, but we go to the next slide here. That shows kind of the picture of what they've been dealing with on most of the side. You can see that just it's been white water, it's just washing right through. And so it's, again, they're dealing with some complications out there, but nothing that's gonna change the project. But the only problem is it's hard to really anticipate schedule right now, just because every rain day is basically an added day to the end of the contract. I know we originally talked about, kind of a mid-February, finish date, but it's definitely, looks like it's gonna spill more into March now, so.
Yeah.
But the good news is that they're still working, they're moving ahead as best they can, and it looks like on the 19th, everything's gonna clear up. We'll hopefully have a better report moving on past that. I think that was my last one. Now there's one more showing the stream basically going out, just to show what they've been dealing with, so.
Yeah.
I think that's it, so,
Okay, thank you. I think that's all we could expect for,
yeah, combination of the holidays and the rain, I guess.
Yeah. All right, you're still up to do the, pavement,
Yes.
reconstruction project.
So this one, at the last, board meeting, I basically presented most of the, they're 95% done at that point, basically, and they've had, all the finished surface of the roadway. So right now, they've done all the paving work, they've done all the original striping for the contract. The only thing left, and again, with the rain going on, they're trying to find a nice time to finish this out. They only have about 1 day of work left, and I think they're gonna be, they're scheduled to come out either Friday or Monday, depending on how big the rain is tomorrow. But this project will be over, and this is one, like I say, is one of our more successful projects that I described last one. We're still $27,000 in the budget, and added basically a full stretch of roadway that we didn't have in the project, and also got thicker pavement sections that allow the road for better repair jobs. So I can say this is definitely been a very successful project, and American Asphalt South has been a pleasure 2 years in a row to work with. So I just want to say that project's going well, and we're gonna expect everyone to come out on Monday and just finish that one out, and then we can file for the notice of completion with the county, and another successful annual pavement. Yeah, so I think we're good.
I just had one quick comment on that too. We also, last week, we cut all the progress payments for this project, so about $760,000 went out, and we just have retention left. And we paid the change order too, so.
Perfect. And I did see that one through. Glad to see that.
Yeah.
It's been a very successful
Everybody's
project.
happy.
Yes, that's what we like to hear. Very good.
Okay, moving on then to, the traffic matters, and, Steve, you have an update for us?
Yes, sir. So as we know, we've been working for the last few months and presenting to you that we're looking at different issues along the entrances. This is just a recap of what we came up with, of the recommendations that we had through the last 3 months. As you know, Richard California Road, it's not our road, it's entirely in the county. We have no jurisdiction over it, and it's in such good shape, we have no recommendations. Sandia Creek, similarly, this is not in our area of Sandia Creek, this is in the San Diego section, but they've installed the gates, so it's greatly reduced the traffic on Sandia Creek for our roads, and our roads in good shape. This is what the San Diego section looks like. So one of the recommendations was possibly to send something to the residents of San Diego and ask them if they might consider shaping up some of the shoulders, the lines, all that kind of stuff that's missing or faded, just so that when anyone does have to travel. This is a Strivo, and we talked about this degradation of the hillside there and the adding of about 4 feet of pavement on the opposite side. So we kind of moved the road away from this edge. We also had curb warning signs that we suggested. And then there is a possibility down the line, if you want to, we can look at putting in potentially a guardrail. There's 2 curbs out there. One has the guardrail, one doesn't. The last recommendation was to maybe approach the other agency that owns that dirt road and see if there's any plans to make an all-weather surface on it. Los Gatos, we've talked about, and think that a turnaround by regrading the top of the shoulder at the top of the hill would be a good feature to have. I got a quote from the contractor who's doing the Buena Vista project at the time that he came on originally. And he was saying we're probably looking at $4,000 to $5,000 for someone like them to come up there and grade that out for us.
Mhm.
It's a pretty big job, a little bit too big for our staff, when they got bigger, faster equipment. One of the curves needs a 10-mile-an-hour sign posted on it. And we've been looking at this as another option to try to help with the people going downhill. And this is a flashing sign that can also be rigged up with a separate device to maybe even record license plates. So we have two separate pieces of equipment here independently. Just because this one play, or is it the next one that plays the video? So that's how you see, like, what you'll see, the letters advising of your speed. So it's a big message board. It sends a real good, thing to take. Then when you go over, you see a little red and green, red and blue lights. That's what it looks like in the daytime, because the camera, that's all it can capture. But trust me, if you run by a police car on a freeway and they're red and blues are flashing in the back, that's what it looks like. And it's really bright. Go to the next slide. This is the nighttime version. Go ahead and play that one. This just shows you how the lights will come up, and they come up bright like that. So it gets your attention when you go over the speed. And that device is about $5,000 to $6,000 device. We're also looking at this option, to limit oversized vehicles going down that hill. And so what that is a bar, kind of like that you might see in a parking garage, where they got height limitations, so things like that. So a similar kind of thing like that, that anything that's too tall or too heavy would not be able to fit under that bar. And so they'd have to use the turnaround and instead of going straight ahead, kind of thing like that. So on Duluth Road, the recommendations was basically, again, it's the county's road. It's in generally good condition and that throughout, but there is potential to maybe add some edge lines that they don't have on some other portions of Duluth and that. And then on the other end, where the dirt road is, have them consider some things. Those reflectors are only good for cars coming up the hill, but you don't see them going downhill. So that might be something that they could do to improve it for our residents, as well as, again, the all-weather surface potential, if they want to consider adding that sometime down the line. So that's kind of a summary of the recommendations that we've been through the engineering committee with, and all those things are well under Jim's authority to implement and that got. So we just need to get together and finalize that.
Did you look at the guardrail almost got the
Guardrails? Yeah, we've costed that out. It's about $100 a foot is what we said, and we're looking at about 400 feet of guardrail that would be needed on the one big sharp curve. So that's about a $50,000 piece just for that one piece. A guardrail all the way down the hill would be, $250,000, $500,000 type of cost. But that one first curve, so we said at least in the interim, let's put up, $500 for the signs
Okay.
and stuff,
But that really, we haven't really got, you just got the number. We haven't really talked about the guardrail issue yet.
Right.
So that'll probably be at the next engineering meeting.
Yeah, we're expecting to bring some recommendations to the board, consolidate all the information that Steve's been collecting here the last few months. And come out with some firm recommendations out of it. There are federal programs that can help pace things like that. And I'm not aware of one in particular, but it might be worth looking into that, to see whether they would help to pay something or something.
I think I know what you might be saying, and I want to say that the majority of those types of federal programs are usually accident-based. So you have to have, let's say, a series of accidents, maybe where people are going off the cliff and that where the guardrail. Then we haven't had that. The fortunate part is the accidents have always been, like a rollover or something on the other side of the road, but not the embankment side, so. Yeah.
I I've done a little bit of digging around, just funding generally.
Yeah.
On that, but we'll look some more, we're still a work in progress. We've kind of done the more simple
Sure.
issues first.
Sure.
And in the next, 2, 3, this could go on maybe 6 more months, because some of these issues become a little more complicated and have dollar signs,
Yeah, sure.
So, anyway.
Pretty good. For the road maintenance, field crew report, TJ's not able to be here tonight, but Wyatt's gonna give us an update.
But we've got one more.
Oh,
He's got.
I'm sorry. I'm getting ahead here. Yeah.
Have to change the slides.
I got 3 more slides. Again, we're working with Water District to patch up some of the roads. They're just same problem. They're waiting for the weather. It's like continuing to work with encroachments by homeowners and right away visibility issues, citizen concerns, traffic control. And we still have a little, as Ron mentioned, some contract striping to finish up here in the next few days to wrap up his project. And last one. Next slide.
Can I throw one in just in case board members hear about this? One of these homeowners right away encroachments is on Del Oro, further down from but it's the homeowner's trying to build a fence about 5 feet off the pavement. And it needs to be 20 feet off the pavement. And anyway, there's an HOA issue over the fence too, and their permits. But anyway, if you hear about that, that's a major encroachment. And there are actually 2 laminated letters notice that we put on his fence structures writing, giving him 10 days. And after on day 11, we start charging fines of $350 a day. That's in the state law. So this is way off. It's not, a few feet, how you measure it. It's way into the right. It's very close. It's a vehicle, issue because it's just too close to it.
Was that also enclosing some utility?
Yeah.
Access?
Fire hydrant even.
Metal, is it fence with metal stakes too? Is it,
Yeah, the footings were good size. He paid a lot of money to have that done. But he's been in war with the HOA. We found out, that's none of our business, but in the course of this, the people complaining about it. So if you get complaints that there's an illegal fence, we're on top of that one. And Judge Doc, you should know about it.
Jess, was there one more slide there at the end?
there was not,
I hate to hog all this time.
There was not.
there was not another slide.
There was no more slides showing the city entrance signs?
No, that was it for your slide.
Oh, district entrance. You can tell.
Yeah.
Okay. Ready to move on?
I guess we are.
Okay. Right.
All righty.
We found out at 3:30 that PJ's wife had a medical issue and had to get home to take care of her baby. So Wyatt stepped up to the plate and he's gonna present the report for the group.
Okay, so this first slide is our GIS map. It shows all the items that we've done throughout each month. Sign maintenance shows only 24, so that's like our most popular that we've been doing.
Mhm.
That's because all the rain, all the mud is softening up, letting the signs like go down. They're all wood
People may be looking at this later, either on a replay or online. The map has on it a small dot at the location of each of the events, and the color-coded bars on the right show both the number of those events and the color corresponding to on the map.
Correct, yeah, and that's all included on the field maps.
A lot of information on that.
Okay, okay. So each item shows sign maintenance, tree trimming, weed abatement, those are like our biggest ones that we did in December. So, next one.
You're converting the wood posts.
Oh, yeah, the wood posts that we have, we're changing them, as you see in the left picture, it's wood leaning, and then we're switching them over to metal posts, hoping that they stand a little bit longer. We've had some good luck with that so far, so that's how we're switching them over. And then tree trimming, we've been using the skid steer, it's been working out great. Usually takes all day to do a single street, but that's all by hand. Now using the skid steer, it takes an hour or two. So it saves us a lot of time. We're using the new equipment. We love it, helping us all out.
You can go back. You can actually see it. I didn't catch it here. You can see the skid steer attachment, the mowing attachment in the middle picture. You just kind of see the silhouette of it. That's our new equipment. And it just drive along and it just turns it to mulch.
Yeah, it just blows it down. We just aim it up. There's like a blade on it, and we just press it against the tree, and it just eats it right up where it's, no pole saw, no chainsaws, helps out a lot.
What do you do with it once it's mulched? Do you scoop it up? Or
We have
do you-
leaf blowers, so we just blow it
Blow
off.
it,
to
blow
the-
it back.
Yeah, that, or if it's too much, we shovel it to the side. But yeah, just kind of clear the roads off, so keeps it nice and Huh?
No more chipper.
Yeah, unless we're doing like a big tree, then we'll use that chipper, but that saves us a lot of time, for sure. Rock slide cleanup, all the rain, a lot of rocks are coming off the hill, coming into the road, so there's been multiple incidents where we just have to go out there and remove them all before it starts damaging you guys' cars. So that's that. Backfill Avenida Del Oro. So TJ and I, it was empty right there, and Raj had us backfill it with some dirt and put some rocks on top to help stabilize that whole area so it doesn't sink in anymore, because when we get rain, that's where it all goes down. So that's to help us out a little bit more.
And this is that area that we added to the project that we didn't think we could afford, but then we found cost savings. And so that's been a real play on Del Oro for a long time.
Yeah.
And it's now brand new.
Pothole patching, this is just some on Carancho. There's some all over the place, but these were some pretty big ones in this past couple weeks. So we're just going out there, getting calls, or just seeing it in the field. We're just patching them all before they get too big and turning into a big project where we have to request help, basically. That's on that. Same thing, Avenida Del Oro, the side of the road down where Jim's talking about where the fence is, there's a lot of the roadway coming off. So we're just coming in and placing some cold patch, so again, doesn't destroy your guys' cars. And then that's the past few weeks since we last saw you guys. That's about it.
So can you tell them what you guys have been up to the last few days?
Right. So last week, it's been raining a whole bunch, and there's 2 trees that fell down on Sandia Creek. And then there's been a few mudslides on Carancho, so we're dealing with that right now. And then today we got a few calls that there's some potholes on Santa Rosa, so we're getting those contracted out.
I heard you guys were out there at like 6:30 in the morning on Sandia Creek. removing a tree
Oh, yeah.
that had fallen over, so,
Oh, yeah, luckily there's only blocking some rain. So
yeah,
we gotta keep the traffic flowing for them.
and you did a great job.
We appreciate that. We appreciate that. But yeah, any other questions?
Just a comment, I think it's important to note that we're able to do a lot of the things like the tree trimming and replacing some of these posts on the signs, that sort of thing, because there's time available now, because cleaning out the culverts kept them from getting plugged up and washing out bridges this time.
Correct.
So the work that we did last year, that the crew did last year, was very important in keeping everything moving. And we've seen some pretty substantial rains. At my place, we've recorded over 11 inches of rain since the first of the month. And that's enough that bridges would, and roadways would have been affected if we hadn't taken the precautionary work to clean all those out. So congratulations on that. That was a really good piece of work doing that.
Appreciate that. It was your best. So, yeah.
Great.
You got any other questions?
No, thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Moving on then to the committee reports, and the first on the list is the engineering committee. I know that we did have a meeting on January the 10th. The things that we discussed then are exactly what we've seen here over the last 15 or 20 minutes or half an hour. So I won't try to duplicate all of that. But if there's any questions, certainly welcome to bring them up. If not, we'll go on to the finance report by Director Belchamber.
Thank you very much. We did meet yesterday. And we've seen some of the material that we reviewed in the general fund and sheriff plan. Also, the LAIF, which is the investment fund that we have is at about 2.4% lately. So that's not the overall, but just some daily numbers. So we've been very pleased with that. We discussed T-bills, and I think we mentioned that at the last board meeting. And the committee has asked Mr. Emmons and Teresa to look into, to actually go ahead and invest about $500,000 in T-bills right now. It's an amount that we can afford and shouldn't be a problem. T-bills are bringing in 4.6%. So you're really talking about doubling the current LAIF. So we think that's worthwhile. In addition, in about a month, we'll be receiving money from the county. And we've also suggested or recommended that they put that $1 million into T-bills. And we would have about $1.5 million in T-bills at around 4.5% to 5%. These would be each for 6 months and short-term, relatively short-term. So, and we discussed the fact that that would not in any way endanger the funds that would be needed for an emergency that the district has. What we would ask is whether any board members have questions or concerns about that, and would ask them to bring that up at this point. Anybody?
Any comments, questions?
No.
Okay, all right.
The other thing we talked about was an issue that came up relative to payroll. We have a $20,000 limit on ACH payroll, which is it's been adequate in the past. But on last week, the amount went over 20,000, $366 over 20,000. And we went through a process and gave approval or requested approval, and Banner Bank did that, and so payroll went out, not a problem. But the other thing we decided was that a board member can sign a check up to $25,000. So we have also will be asking Banner Bank to increase that to $25,000. So that would be consistent with our current policy in terms of board members signing checks. That would only require one board member. Right. So I'll be getting in touch with their treasury department and asking them to increase the amount to 25,000. Again, if the board has any comments or concerns, please let us know.
I have not.
Paula, did we do anything else?
I think that was basically it. We discussed maybe investing in the T-bills, but if 6 months each, and I was thinking it might be better to put 500 now, wait a month, and once we get the benefit fund, and spread it out a little bit, because as they come due, then we have the option of reinvesting, and it's not everything at one time. Space it out a little bit, so.
Right, that's correct.
That's it. All right, thank you. Normally, Director Roberts, who's our president, would give the legislative committee report. She's not here tonight. Do you have anything to raise on it?
We do actually, but I'm going to ask Mr. Evans to do it because he's been intimately involved in this, and I think it's, he may have some more up-to-date information because some of this changes from minute to minute, but
Yeah, well, we do have to talk after the meeting about that little word change, but you may recall, yes, we had just come back a month ago from a meeting with Supervisor Jeffries. And the meeting ended with a concern by the county that before we proceeded any further, that they would like to write a letter to the state controller's office to determine whether or not they had any issues with the pass-through of gas tax funds to our district. Our attorney was directed after that meeting that we should prepare a draft letter because of concern that when you ask a question, that you could ask it in a way that would not come back favorable. Okay, and so there was concern that we would write it more favorable than the county. So that all occurred during the holidays, and we did receive a letter from BB&K, a draft. But at the same moment in time, or very close to that, out came a letter from the county. And it was shocking. And when Debbie and Robert met and sat here at the table and read this letter, they turned somewhat white because it even went so far as to say that the county, so they described what we're trying to accomplish. And then they began the second half of the letter asking their opinion of the controller by saying something like, well, the county of Riverside agrees with this action. We feel that the controller should render their opinion also. And we never heard them say that they supported our gas tax. And it was signed and will be signed by the Director of Transportation, which is about the third layer down from the supervisors, the high staff. But nonetheless, we made just a few very minor changes to it. And tomorrow, our Brian Baer, our special counsel for this, is going to contact the county staff, suggest our little corrections, and tell them to go for it. So, yeah, I think the committee was shocked. We have one member of the committee here. He may want to add to that, but that's kind of where we're at.
Right, I looked at the letter and I saw that it had a County of Riverside letterhead. And I kept going back to the email thinking, how do you guys do that? Put that letter on the County of Riverside letterhead. And then I realized it was a County of Riverside letter. And And it wasn't just because I looked at who it came from. And I was actually pretty surprised by it. I think the word they use, support, not just agree. And it's a very positive letter. It makes some very good points. And so I think we're all very much encouraged
Yes.
at this point that we may actually see the gas tax this year. Okay, I mean, that's the important thing, because there is a deadline. And so if this can get done somewhat speedily, then it can go to county supervisors and they would vote on it. Very good. So I think we're very encouraged by that fact that our county supervisor seems very supportive of this and holds a lot of weight on that board. And I think we should feel pretty good about this passing, that if this letter achieves what we want it to.
So, yeah, it couldn't come at a better time. We need more work done on the roads. Very good. Anything else? This is a good time to be quiet and leave.
Yes.
Someone pull me once.
You have a blue packet, the annual Form 700. Those are due back in springtime, but we like to get them there. So I think we should have those back by next week. Great. And I have nothing further.
Jim, I do have a question. But we have these conflict of interest, but these seminars we're required to do every few years.
Yes.
So when, and we need to be informed about.
You're all at different times and Jessica was.
I have a list that was sending out an email.
Okay, so what happens is when you're getting close, she sends you an email or whatever.
Okay,
Is everybody, we checked general 6 months ago, everybody's current, right?
Well,
I think it's every 2 years.
right,
years,
correct.
yeah.
Mhm. There's a few that, yes, that need to,
And that's the online.
correct.
Yeah.
That's the last one.
Yes, right.
We'll check and verify.
Good, thanks.
Mr. Cummins, anything else on general manager's report?
Nope.
Well, let's move on to Mr. Summers.
My report is also going to be short tonight. We did do some further checking on the winery project. And applicant still hasn't resubmitted a full application yet, so that project is still on hold as of about a week ago. And we did reach you'll probably remember, we met in closed session last meeting to talk about reaching a settlement on litigation on the spill. We did reach that settlement. And we haven't, I don't want to speak about the details too much right now yet, because we still haven't signed an actual agreement yet. But it appears that's going on, right? So
Okay, very good.
they have agreed to reach a settlement. So that's good. That's all I've got.
Very good. Anything else? It appears that we have done the impossible tonight. Congratulations. We're finishing a bit early. Meeting is adjourned. Good job.